Yo, what's good, man? This is Easy Pin Child Podcast here with our next special guest in the building. And if you haven't done so, man, y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And this special guest, he has an amazing resume. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. He's an author. He's a doctor. He has an MBA. He's also a consultant. So if you have a business and you need someone that's going to, advise you on how to run your business, that's someone to reach out to. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we can start this conversation. Once again, I appreciate you for coming by. So tell the people who you are and what you do.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Kwakye. A lot of people know me as Dr. K. I came to the U.S. at the age of 9, pretty much grew up here, went to, grammar school here, went to high school. I ended up going to college here in Buffalo. My undergrad was at Buffalo State University. And then I went to Medaille College for my MBA, my master's in business administration. And then I went on and got my doctorate degree at Niagara University. So my background is pretty much in operations. I currently, run the day-to-day operations for a chiropractic practice here as their chief operating officer. I'm also a business consultant. I work with individuals who already have a business but looking to scale their business to the next level, and also individuals who may have a business idea and maybe need some assistance or some help getting their business off the ground. I do a little bit of coaching as well, helping individuals, who want to improve their, discipline. So they can have a better, personal life as well as a better career.
Man, that's a crazy resume.
Oh yeah.
And thank you for saying that, because right there you just inspired me, and you inspired just so many African kids, so many immigrants, so many kids that came here and just looking for opportunities. And that's one prime example right there, because a lot of times, we come here and just take things for granted.
Right.
And look where you have taken you. You've met a lot of great people, I can tell.
Right.
But yeah, so tell us though, like when you first came to America at age 9, what was going through your mind? I know you was young, but what was going through your mind?
Oh man. So when I first came into this country, it was very challenging, right? So trying to learn the English language, as a matter of fact, when I came to the U.S., I was going from the 4th grade to the 5th grade. So they put me right into the 5th grade. Because I was having a hard time, assimilating to the American culture, a hard time speaking and understanding English, I actually ended up failing the 5th grade. So, instead of, repeating the 5th grade, the school officials went to my parents and say, hey, instead of having them repeat the 5th grade, let's put them back a grade. So he can, try to learn, get the education that he needs and be able to get on the same grade level as, the other students. Right. So not only did I fail a grade, but I was actually put back a grade. And I remember when that happened, it didn't feel good, right? It didn't make me feel good at all because it just made me feel like I wasn't as good as my peers, right? So I made a promise to myself that I would never fail another grade again. So whatever I had to do, in terms of making sure that I got good grades, didn't miss, a day of school, make sure that I always went to school. I did whatever I had to do to make sure that never happened again. So here it is, the kid that came to the United States at a young age, failing the 5th grade, having to go back to the 4th grade. Now went on to get his PhD.
Wow. Did your parents discipline you? Because, coming from an African household, the way we take education, especially our parents, is they take it very, very to the max. Like, like their standard for education is high. So like, let's say you failed a grade, at that point, they will feel like you have disappointed them. But like, did you get punished? Did you face any consequences in that case?
Not at all. One thing I loved about my parents is that they understood the challenges that I was going through. Right. And they gave me the freedom to be me. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't see it as a negative thing because, again, everything was new to me. Right. And I was just kind of thrown in there. Also, just kind of thinking back then, there weren't a lot of resources available to help immigrants, like myself, versus just kind of throwing you into the school and expecting you to perform at a certain level. So they didn't see that as a negative thing. They just kind of motivated me, to kind of keep working hard. And that's one thing that I never took granted because they brought me here for a reason. They brought me here for an opportunity to have a better life, right? So schooling was one of the things that I made sure that I took very seriously. Yeah, I played around a little bit, got in a little bit of trouble, but
Right.
it became a time where the light bulb went off in my head and was like, you know what? You're having an opportunity that most kids back home wish they had, right? So it's time for you to get serious, right? It's time for you to stop, playing around with your education and really take your education seriously. So, that's what I had to do, in terms of making sure that I didn't let them down as to the reason why they brought me here. So I did everything that I could to make sure that, I made them proud in terms of bringing me here to be able to get the education that I need to be able to have the life that I have today.
And it's crazy too. Like at a young age, you're giving yourself those advice. I mean, it's like that's why I always tell people it's like when just growing up in Africa, you mature faster.
Oh yeah,
You mature faster because you have so much things they expect you to do, especially as a man. It's like they want you to grow. Like you 9 years old and you have to do so much things that are compared to someone that's like 14 or 15 years old.
Right.
So I want to also ask you this, like, did you have like siblings also coming to America or was you the only child?
No, I was I'm the only child.
Really?
Right? Yeah, my mother had a miscarriage before she had me.
Wow.
And then she had a miscarriage after me. So once I heard that story, it kind of inspired me because I felt like I was meant to be here. There's a reason why I'm here,
Yeah,
right?
man. Yep.
God had a purpose for me, and I live every day to make sure that I work towards that purpose,
Man, that's crazy though. Just thinking about it before and after you, and just thinking you gonna have either a big brother, a big sister, a little sister.
Right,
It's insane, man. And I like how you put it because that shows too. Like there's a reason why you're here. To make an impact. And one of the prime example is you're actually an author. Have you always wanted to become an author?
No. So this is something that, again, just kind of using my experience of going through the doctoral program, doing research, that's when, I kind of learned that I have the gift to be able to do research and write, based on that experience of going through the doctoral program. Let me go back a little bit. So when I first came to the U.S., I thought that my life was like everybody else's, right? And then I got a rude awakening when I got to high school, when I found out that I was actually undocumented, right? So here I am, kind of going through life, right? Living two different lifestyles, right? On the outside, all my friends, everybody thought I was kind of just like them, what I'm saying? Be able to get my driver's license, get a job. But I wasn't able to do any of that, every day kind of living in fear and just trying to figure out how to make it through on a daily basis. So I actually, went through grammar school, high school, my first year, my undergrad year of college, undocumented, so even though to everybody else, I may have looked like, I can do the same thing they can do, and I had the same opportunities that they had and the same freedom, I really didn't, so that's why I always made sure that I worked extra hard and whatever I put my mind to,
Right.
because, I was always at a disadvantage.
Right.
Right.
And at a young age too, like you have a lot of temptations, but like how did you keep yourself out of trouble? Because that's one thing that actually gets a lot of people. I have a friend actually that was sent back because he did something. He went and did, robbed someone and he was caught and then sent back. But like, how did you manage to keep yourself out of trouble and making sure that you have a good friend group around you?
Right. So it all goes back to it starts at home, right? The foundation that you have at home and that has been set for you. So my parents always made sure to remind me that listen, this is your situation. You got to be smart, in terms of the decisions that you make when you're out there. So whenever I was out there, I was always conscious about what I was doing. Knowing that, this is an opportunity that I have and that I can't do anything to mess up this opportunity, what I'm saying, to send me, for me to go back home and, face even more challenges, having to go through life in terms of, being able to have that good life for myself. So, I always made sure to keep myself busy. I was a part of a youth auxiliary, under Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, Sigma Betas, Sigma Beta Club, where we was around. I was around a group of good guys, man. We was all active in the community, in sports, just doing positive things, to keep us out of trouble.
Right.
So I always made sure to keep that in the back of my head that listen, yeah, they can go here and be running around and getting in trouble, but you're not like them. Like you don't have
like
the
them, right.
the freedom that they have. You know what I'm saying? So I always kept that in mind and made sure that I made smart decisions in terms of staying out of trouble.
Most definitely. And speaking of discipline, it comes into play when it comes to that. But like, how would you define discipline? And just being one of the authors that have written a book in regards to discipline. So tell us more about that in your own words.
So discipline is something that most people struggle with, right? Discipline is doing something that you may not feel like doing, but you should be doing, right? So, it's all about setting a goal for yourself, regardless of what you want to do in life, right? Regardless of what your plan is, what your goal is. You want to make sure that whatever you set out to do for yourself and for your life, you stick to that and you work towards that on a daily basis, right? So even if it's an hour a day working towards your goal, right? You have to make sure that you set that routine to keep working at it, even at the times where you didn't feel like it. Going through the doctoral program, I wasn't able to go on trips. I wasn't able to do certain things, what I'm saying, because I had to be disciplined in my schoolwork, in my education.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So discipline is really, setting your goal, setting your intentions, and working at it on a daily basis to make sure that you reach your goals, regardless of how hard things get. You have to be disciplined to be able to do it.
We all have been in position where we have failed at some point and we feel like giving up. But like at one point in your lifetime where you like everything was going downhill for you and you just felt like, man, like it's the end of everything. Like I'm done with it. And how did you manage to pick yourself back up?
So, whenever, again, going through the experience of being undocumented, man, it was days where, I was stressed, depressed, what I'm saying? I upset to be in this predicament, not being able to do certain things. And even going through the doctoral program, I didn't, the idea of even getting my doctorate never entered my mind, right? So one day I was like, man, why not me? You know what I'm saying? I can do it too, right? If I set my mind to it, I can do it. And I knew it was going to be challenging. There was some doubts, you know what I'm saying? But I'm the type of person that when I set my mind to something, I work hard towards it.
Yeah.
There may be some challenges that come along the way, but, with me, it's like, I gotta do it. I don't feel right when I don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right because it's like, I know I should be doing this, right? So let me just go ahead and do it. Regardless of how I may be feeling, or tired, whatever have you, because I have, set this goal and this intention in my head, in my mind, it's like, I have to do it, right? I gotta get it done. I always when I'm giving speeches, when I'm talking to the youth, I like to use Nike. Just do it, right? Just do it because if you don't do it, the time gonna go past you anyway, right? So whether it gets hard, it gets difficult, you feel, that you're not getting anywhere, you put in all of these hard work, time or whatever have you, just do it. It can either end up two ways. It's either gonna be successful or it's not. Right.
Yeah, and you learn something throughout that process too.
You learn. Failure is the best teacher. You know what I'm saying? You can't be afraid to fail. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's not working for you, like you just said, it's working on you. It's making you a better person. You're learning from it. Right now, if you just keep making the same mistakes over and over and not learning from it, that's a whole different thing. But when you fail at something, it's not the end of it. So, I work out a lot, right? Working out is a part of my daily routine. It's going in terms of talking about the discipline. On a day that I don't work out because I have an early morning meeting or busy schedule, I just don't feel right. Right. So working out is a way for me to, kind of mentally get ready for the day. And on Saturdays, I like to either go to the track to run or to Delaware Park. And I like to do about, 3 miles, right? So every 4 laps around the track is a mile.
Right.
So usually when I get around, so we're talking about maybe 12 laps around the track. So when I get around lap 8, 6, 7, I start to get tired, right? You start feeling that pain, and most people, and that's just life. Most people, when things start getting hard, I can easily be like, you know what, I'm tired. Let me stop. Let me walk. But I push through, right? That's life. When things get difficult, when challenges come in your way, when people disappoint you, when you run into failure, you just got to keep going and keep pushing through. Yep. And what happens when I keep running is now when I get to like lap 10, that tiredness and that pain goes away, right? It's like you get your second wind back. Same thing with life. If you keep pushing through it, you're gonna get to a point where it's gonna get easier for you, right? And then once you accomplish that goal, now it gives you a lot of motivation to keep going, right? And because you've done it and you've completed that goal, now when you set your mind to something else and it gets challenging, mentally you're like, if I got through that, I can get through this too.
That's it. I think you become numb to the pain. Even myself, I can relate to that because I've played soccer my whole life. Mm-hmm. Some days where, let me say, you didn't drink enough water before your soccer tournament.
Right.
And then you go run, you feel that stomach cramp.
Yeah,
and then you feel like giving up. And eventually the stomach cramp does go away, like you said, which is very, very true because it's the mind. It's if you allow it to defeat you, then it's gonna defeat you at the end of the day.
Right.
And I want to also highlight, because you have 3 of your books here, what other books have you written so far? And can you talk more about them?
So this is the Discipline for Success books. It's a practical guide to kind of guide you through on how to be disciplined, to be able to, in terms of your personal life and also in your career as a professional. So this is the first book that I wrote. My first book was my dissertation, because when you do a dissertation, you have to publish it, right? So that's my first book that I wrote. But this is the second book that I wrote, Mastering Discipline for Success. And then I wrote a book about revitalizing customer service post COVID-19 for businesses. And the reason why I wrote this book, because it seems like during COVID and after COVID, just customer service just got bad everywhere. Regardless of what industry, what arena, customer service was and it's still terrible. Yeah. Right. A lot of the customer service has been, call centers have been sent overseas. You know what I'm saying? You can tell people are just kind of reading scripts that they've been given, not necessarily resolving your issues, but just almost like telling you what you want to hear just to get you off the call, right? So that's what motivated me and prompted me to write this second book, to give businesses pretty much a step-by-step guide on how to improve their customer service when it comes to running their business. So that's this book, and then this third book is Overcoming Insecurity. Just like discipline, insecurity is something that most people deal with, but we all have our own insecurities. Right. But it's about pretty much, recognizing what your insecurity is, and then being able to overcome it by just being you, loving who you are, and just working hard to become the better version of yourself, and just pretty much accepting who you are. So, we all have insecurities, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying, you have to learn how to build confidence, and also self-worth.
Yeah, most definitely. And I like how everything kind of like aligns because I do work in the customer service industry as well. And like you said, you are given a script nowadays to where people are not actually using their own personal like characteristics to connect with the customers.
Right.
I feel like when you're able to connect with the customer, you're able to solve issues much better because a lot of customers actually that I've come across have actually said, you're going to say the same thing this other person said.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense because this person told them the same thing that you're going to say because you're not probably being trained to be yourself.